This is Ravens Flock Talk Podcast, coming to you every week with their thoughts and opinions on each and every Ravens game. Tune in weekly and join the flock.
This is Ravens Flock Talk. I'm your host, Brandon, with my co-host, my dad. And this is our season finale episode. I want to be the first to apologize. We have not been with you the past, 3, maybe 4 games. But, I wanted to have this season recap, of course, and really go over the season as a whole and this unfortunate last playoff game. What a season. I mean, a lot of drama, ups and downs, but this was unusual, I think, in the sense of all the drama that was going on with the Ravens and our quarterback. And what a way to end the season. Heartbreaking once again. A play that, unfortunately, we will never forget.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is the correct word. I look at this season as just distraction.
Yeah.
One right after the other, whether it's Lamar, whether it's what quarterback is injured. It was just very disappointing season.
It's hard to get in a rhythm when the constant change, whether it was our running backs, the quarterbacks, we had key players in our secondary that was always hurt. I mean, injuries are a given, but it's like everything fell into place towards the end. We had the guys out there. We had our starters. And the most critical piece was not there, our quarterback.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's just very unfortunate. And it's, our Super Bowl window, to me, is finally closed. And it's just a lot of what ifs these past 3-4 years, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's kind of devastating. I'm not even sure how I feel right now. I'm a little bit angry. I'm disappointed. I'm trying to look to the future and focusing on this game. We all knew, we didn't have a good chance, but when the game got started and the way it flowed, all of a sudden my emotions changed, to be honest with you.
Yep.
I said, okay, we got half a chance.
Yeah.
And then it became, no, we really have a good chance. And then the end result, because let's just get right to it if you want to, Brandon, or you with Greg Roman. Let's just jump into it.
Yeah, Greg, I mean, it's funny, when Lamar was playing, we didn't even mention him too much. And in the second half of the season, he reverts back to his old ways, and we were just upset with the play calling. And with the Ravens fans, in regards to him, it's still like 50-50, maybe 60-40, 60% wanting him gone. Some people saying, no, let's keep him because our offense revolves around Lamar, and he's the perfect coordinator for Lamar in terms of the running schemes and whatnot. But he abandons the game plan. And the play that everybody's talking about, the fumble on the goal line, me and you were saying at the time, why?
Yeah.
Why not hand it off to your running back?
I mean,
in
like
that
most,
situation?
Exactly, Brandon. And as most fans are watching the game, what I have to go back to is Brandon and I are saying throughout the game, where's Dobbins? Where's Williams? At one point, he started rotating.
Gus, you mean?
I mean, Gus. Sorry,
Yeah.
Gus. At one point, they started rotating them in and out. We're gaining yardage. We have the offense off the field. We have Joe Burrow sitting down, watching.
Running the clock.
Flowing, right? And then J.K. said, I'm putting this team on my back. He all week long, that's what he promoted. So it was a good start. We said, okay, but in the red zone, Roman refuses to run him in the red zone. And this is the guy that is doing all the dirty work for you to get to the red zone.
Yep.
So that's why I'm angry. And he even admitted it verbatim afterward.
It's funny because it's funny that he spoke out and said that, because we were yelling that during the game.
The whole game.
The commentators even talked about him saying, put this game on my back. I will carry us to a win.
And then we said, we have a second string quarterback in there. Don't put him in a position to fail. Don't put too much pressure. What do they do? Pass. That's not even our dynamic of our team.
So of course you can't run all the time to a win, and there was some critical passes that he made, but to make it to say, here, Huntley, win us the game.
Right.
as a backup quarterback, his first playoff game, he's got no experience in this type of environment and with this pressure, with everything on the line. Don't do that. He's not ready. And JK is only in the second year, but JK has proven to be consistent, to be that guy that we can rely on. He's almost a veteran to me, the way he acts and how he proceeds in the game. I just don't understand, and I do not blame him one bit. I am glad he called out the coaching staff, Harbaugh, Roman, whoever that you want to speculate who he was talking about. He is damn right, because it's like the Seattle with Pete. You won't give it to Marshawn. He did all that dirty work for you. What are you doing in a game like this?
You read my mind with Lynch, because he was ruined after that game. He was ruined because of the circumstances. So what I say is, with Roman, you are in the red zone. We are next to last in the red zone practically. So here you have JK, who knows how to get to the hole. First of all, that's his job. He's a running back. And he sees that hole and he slides like nobody else. Yeah. He can hide behind the lineman.
And he's tough to tackle.
And he's tough.
He stays on his feet. He's
got good
balance.
Put all your beans in Huntley. You're gonna have him make that decision, Roman.
And not only that too.
That play.
It was a long
two. It was like two, not.
It wasn't like we were right up on the goal line. And if you wanted to do that, right? And from what you told me before the podcast, it was Huntley's decision to go over the top. It's just to me, it's just inexperience. It's coaching. I mean, you have to reiterate in situations like this with some of these guys, you need to do it this way. We can't have guys going out on a limb doing their own thing.
Yeah, and let's go back to that, because that was, on a news break that Huntley actually admitted what happened on that play. Well, guess what? He should have never put him, Roman should have never put him in that position in the first place, is what I'll tell the fans. Whether Huntley made a bad decision of going over the top versus going low, he should have never been put in that position. And again, we go back to a second string quarterback. So put the responsibility on your running back, whether it was Gus or JK. That was the play. It's short yardage, go straight to, and not around, end around.
Straight up the gut.
Straight up the gut, through the tackles.
I don't want to keep having to go back and stuff, but Ravens fans will say, "Oh, you guys are being so negative and this and that. We put up a good fight. We were in the position to win, and we let it slip out of our hands yet again." And think about it. When was the last time we were in the playoffs? Lamar throwing that end zone interception in Buffalo, returning it, 100 yards to end the game. What happened this game?
Yeah.
On the 1 yard line to go the opposite end. And you knew we had no shot. This team is not good enough to overcome stuff like that. And we were in the perfect position. Let's say we score with JK or Gus right there, right? Our defense was playing pretty good.
Yeah.
We stopped Burrow. Now we can run the clock out. We can maybe get in the field goal range for Tucker and end it. End it right there.
And worst case, Brandon, they have to go all the way down the field to score.
That's what I'm saying. But even if they don't, we get the ball back. We run. All we got to do is get in field goal range for the best kicker in the league. Ice the game, and it's over. Yeah. And I mean, what I'm so mad about is that this was our Super Bowl in a sense. This team was not good enough to go all the way.
Yeah.
So how great would it be? Because all the smack talking beforehand with the players, they hate us. They were calling us dirty the week before. Roquan is pumped up again because of the contract too. But he's a Raven now.
Yeah.
We're ready to go. And we had nobody gave us a shot in this game.
And so I give props to the defense. They really played a good game. They played their hearts out, only for this to happen on the offensive side.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, it happens way too more often, fans. And personally, I'm sick of it.
In big games, too.
In big games, I'm sick of it.
How many times have we seen Roman abandon the run? In critical situations.
Something happens, and he just forgets what the whole game plan is. In the first and second quarter, in the third, in the fourth, he's going to abandon it? No, Greg. So I am angry about this. It's going to take me a long time to get over this, and I'll never forget that play. just like Lee Evans and all these other and
Roman abandoned it in Tennessee when we were the number 1 seed. He abandoned it in Buffalo, and he abandoned it this time around.
Yeah.
And think about it, guys. Since our Super Bowl win in 2012, what do we have? 1, maybe 2 playoff wins? It's pathetic. Since Ray Lewis and Ed Reed retired, John Harbaugh has not been nearly as good.
Yeah.
We have become the epitome of mediocre, and that's what kills me. I'm not a pom-pom cheerleader fans. Me and my dad, we are not like that. We will be critical of this team, but we will always be fans. But let's not be mistaken. We are not considered that, that gritty team that people fear anymore.
No, that's
we
true.
are at the middle of the pack now, and I don't know what it's going to take to get over the hump.
And Brandon, it just seems from last year podcast to this year podcast, we say the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
And it all revolves around Greg Roman and Marcus Peters. So he's another one that
Roman, it's the same thing.
It's
not just Peters, our secondary in general.
And think about our secondary. Now we have bragging rights with our linebackers, okay? We have the Twins behind us. But now, look at the secondary. And Humphrey, the big contract, guess what? Every time he defends somebody, it could be a flag. Almost every single time.
But you know what I'll say? Ravens fans that love Humphrey will say this to you. Well, he didn't give up a touchdown all year.
Because he's too busy getting flags.
He's too busy holding guys.
Holding that guy.
We don't have a coverage corner. That's why we're always in zone, and we're so afraid to give it over the top. But what kills me is that if you do that the entire game, you're just letting them have gimmies.
I mean,
8 yards, 9 yards.
I mean, we
gotta have a coverage guy.
We watched Dallas, and their coverage guys were on them like glue. And every pass was contested, and it wasn't pass interference. They had a couple, but every pass, and they took Brady right out of his zone.
And not only that, I mean, look at the secondary of the 49ers. The Eagles have one of the best 2 corners on their team. I mean, it makes it hard for and it's a throwing league, and we're letting these guys have gimmies, and I'm just not a fan of it. I can't think of a when was the last time we had a coverage corner that would stick on guys like glue?
I can't.
You can't even say Ed Reed because he's a safety, right?
Yeah, I mean, so the first thought is Ed, but remember, Ed's a safety.
Yeah, you can't even think of
he's
a guy.
Ball hawk.
That's always been a kind of a shaky aspect of this defense. And Marcus Peters, as you mentioned, he's got to go. He is awful.
Awful. I'm just so sick of him. And
he's a loudmouth who makes no plays.
Yep. And they talk about he was a hothead that could have cost us this game. So he did cost us 15 yards, almost 30, I think.
But Chris Collinsworth will say he's the heart and soul of this team.
Well, who cares when you're getting 15-yard penalties back in critical situations? But anyway, I'm like at a loss because it hurts the fact that we were so close.
Yet again.
And here it was like Brandon said earlier, it was a perfect setup. Pittsburgh is out of the playoffs. That's the number one thing that we all love. Okay? Now you got your arguably the number one hated AFC for us now, Cincinnati versus Pittsburgh. You got them on the ropes. You're ready to show the world on a Sunday night game? Yeah. On a Sunday night game that we are for real, at least for that moment in the AFC. And we win, and by the way, that would be 2 wins against Cincinnati. So we dominate AFC,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this game was just all for bragging rights. And to do it with a backup would have been extremely nice.
Now, I have a question for you, Brandon, and the fans. What would have happened if we did win that game? What do you think Lamar would do?
Lamar would not have played.
So he would sit out again. And that would be a clear indication of how he really feels because he did do that tweet that got nationwide attention.
Yeah.
And to show his real feelings of why he wasn't there at the game or games. And that really burns me, and I'm getting really shaky on him, fans.
Yeah, and there's like controversy. Well, players that are injured are not on the sideline, and if they are, they're on the injured reserve, and all this stuff. I don't know the details, but what I do know is that he was on the sideline for some games, and for him to put out that, as they say, cryptic message on his Instagram story. My question to the people because there's a lot of Ravens fans. Now, let's go to the Lamar talks now. We know about Roman. We're disgusted with it. We're unhappy. It's the same old crap. Now, let's get into the most controversial subject all year since he's been hurt. My thing is this. Yes, I don't know Lamar's body. I don't know what he feels. And I know there's some people like Sean Payton and Michael Vick were critical, saying, you need to play. You need to get out there. Mike Vick said he had a PCL sprain. He said, put on a brace and get out there. Controversial. I will say that, and with the aspect of the amount of money that he wants and is deserving. Now, I'm not saying he's deserving of $250 million, but my thing for Lamar and for the fans that say, he should sit out in his health and look at RG3, what happened to him. If that was the case, why did he play in the first place? He had nothing to prove. He won his playoff game. He proved the doubters wrong when we beat Tennessee. MVP. He went 14-2 one year. He's the most electrifying quarterback outside of maybe Josh Allen on his feet. What did he have to prove by playing this year? And so all of a sudden, if it wasn't about the contract, and he said before the season, he said as soon as the season starts, he doesn't want to talk about the contract.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden you get hurt, and you don't want to play, and now you put out this thing that clearly is about the contract.
Right.
What's the deal, Lamar? Make up your mind.
What's the message you're putting out on your own?
Yeah.
And that's. I guess
I just don't get it.
I guess it's how people interpret things.
If it was always about the contract, wouldn't you sit out the entire year and not even risk an injury?
Well, that's true.
You already proved yourself.
But also let us remind draft day and what Mr. Lamar said to the Baltimore fans. Right? I guarantee you a Super Bowl championship. I guarantee I'll put my heart in this. I guarantee this. And then when the chips come down to it, he doesn't even get on a plane to sit and watch and support his team. I mean, that's a bad look, Lamar, especially you want to talk about contract talks. That's a bad look on national TV.
And that's what Sean Payton was saying, and he got a lot of flack for what he said, of course. But you know what? Kudos to people that are outspoken.
That's right.
And not sugarcoating like the NFL commentators do week in and week out. If it's a bad call, they will defend the refs and the shield.
Let's go on.
But Sean, hold up. But what Sean Payton said, you have a chance to compete for a Super Bowl. You're 2 wins away.
Yeah.
From a Super Bowl, and this was a game we could win. Right?
Yeah.
Go to Kansas City, and who knows what happens, right? Maybe with Lamar coming back, it motivates the team even. You never know. You have a chance to, you don't get these opportunities all the time.
Right.
And what I will say with Lamar is this: hey, buddy, listen, if you don't come back, fine, cool, I'm okay with it. I want players that want to be here, and if he does, that's fine. But I don't want to dismantle this team for one guy, especially a guy who has now shown he can get injured, right?
Well,
and my thing is this, is like, it's not always greener on the other side. You might go to a bad team and become irrelevant.
Exactly.
And your career is loud.
I want to go back to that comment. That's what I was going to interrupt you with the injuries now. Look, let's be honest. Let's be realistic. This guy has gotten hurt mid-season and out 6 games legit, I guess, last year. I'm talking last year. Now, mid-season again, he's electric, he's dynamic, we're all excited.
Yeah.
We got the team, and then he gets hurt, right? And it didn't look like a really bad injury. And anywhere from 1 to 4 weeks. I think 3, maybe 4.
Some said 4 to 6 weeks.
No,
I don't know.
No, I did not hear that. It was always 1 to 3 to me. Maybe I'm wrong, but I heard that over and over. So you can look it up if you know. So,
definitely wasn't 1 week though.
No, it was 1 to 3. I remember it. But regardless, Brandon, here's the deal: you're going week after week after week, right? And they said Harbaugh handled the press really poorly with the updates on his injury. because it just didn't make sense because what they put out in the beginning. So if that's the case, correct it so the fans and the national audience can say he was really hurt. He probably will not return for the season. But going week after week with hopes for the fans and like us, that was the disappointing part to me. And then at the last minute say he's not playing, too many damn games, I'll tell you, because, fine. Like you said, fine. And I got news, like Brandon says. If he doesn't want to play in Baltimore, Lamar, good luck, right? Because now you've proven in contract negotiations that you are injury prone. And, how fast are you? Because
a team that is desperate is going to pay.
Yeah. I'm talking about
my thing is this. Has Lamar earned a lot of money? Of course. He's got a 70% win percentage. He has carried this team on his back year after year for the times that he wasn't hurt. But I told you that when Cleveland signed Watson, it was going to mess up a lot of things. Yeah. And let's be honest, Lamar, you want that type of money, but you're not a Mahomes, you're not a Josh Allen, you're not even an Aaron Rodgers. And I'm not saying, and Rodgers has had no success in the playoffs, but for you to get paid, Dak Prescott got paid the most. What was it, last year?
Yeah,
Dak Prescott. Right. And Jerry Jones is probably still sick to his stomach before that. And, the only thing that'll make him better is a Super Bowl.
Right, and although he had his best game of his life.
We'll see.
Against...
Tampa Bay. But I'm saying, listen, after a performance like that, you're bound to go downhill after. Because, you played extremely well.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is this, Lamar, is you're not Mahomes and Allen, and even those guys are not getting paid as much as Watson. All right, Cleveland that's called desperation. And that's why all the other NFL owners are so angry at Cleveland because they're going to mess up the market for us all, right?
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't be stupid, Cleveland. You're going to mess it up for everybody. And Lamar saw that and said, why not me?
And I think that's what's going to happen in these negotiations this year with him. They'll probably franchise tag him, right, for a year or two. And my feeling now, looking in hindsight with him, is that going to motivate him to really play next year? A franchise tag without that big contract that obviously he wants. So there's a lot of things. And hey, look,
if Bisciotti really doesn't want to pay the guy, I don't even see the purpose of franchising tagging him for a year. I'd rather just get on with moving on, get as much as we can get back because we better get a boatload of picks and players for him.
That's the problem. That's a crapshoot there because. Is there a quarterback out in the market that Bisciotti and they're looking to get? That's the other thing. Who's available? And in draft, that's more of a crapshoot.
Yeah.
So
what sucks is the fact that this team is a playoff team and ready to compete, and so you can't just input a young guy in there. And that's why I told you, and I got a lot of crap for it, is Derek Carr. Why not?
Yeah.
People act like Derek Carr is so bad. The Raiders blew the most, leads by 14 points or more this year. Is that something on Derek Carr? No, that says nothing about Derek Carr. It says something about their defense. So that's what I'm just saying.
Well, that's what
because
I'm
afraid.
There's options out there. It could be options, but
in the quarterback position, there's really not, and that's why I think they're going to franchise tag him. But like you said, is he going to really compete for us?
And we have to have a premier quarterback for receivers to come here from the marketplace because they're not going to come.
Yeah.
These ones that come out, we're notoriously where we interview them and they say no. Why do you think they say no? Right? So we're not a passing team. And so to get a premier receiver that we've been trying to get, it's going to be it's not impossible, but it is
impossible if you don't have a quarterback.
Now if you don't have a quarterback, then and they're not going to come to a team that is not slotted.
Let's be honest. When it comes to a franchise, you need to have a solid head coach and a solid quarterback. If you don't have those things, you are not competing at all. It's like the NBA. If you don't have at least 2 stars, You're not even.
Well,
You're irrelevant. You have no chance.
Back to football. How about Pittsburgh? That's what happened. They waited and waited to get a quarterback to replace Ben. So they get this guy, and look at their season. Now they're in a rebuilding a period like the Ravens have been.
But
for,
you know what?
6 years.
But you know what? If I have to make, I guess it's a bold prediction. There's always about half the teams that make the playoffs. The next year they don't, and new teams make it.
No, I know.
Pittsburgh's going to make the playoffs next year. My prediction, because Kenny got his reps this year.
Mm-hmm.
He beat us, right? He put on a performance. He got his reps. He went through his wounds. I bet you Pittsburgh has a good year next year, makes the playoffs.
Well, they always do, and that's why I said earlier. One of the only nice part about this whole thing is that Pittsburgh wasn't in the playoffs.
I'm saying with their young quarterback, he got the reps this year.
And they easily could have been in there. They got some bad luck with people winning and losing. But anyway, look, it's. I feel like for me, I'll speak for me, Brandon, that I'm blown off steam because of the way the season ended and the way Lamar has really hijacked the season is the word I can use, that I feel I want to use, because it just was a tumultuous season. It was too many distractions, which is not Ravens ball. And Brandon, I agree. We're not playing Ravens physical ball either, and we're not running the ball down people's throats. That is who we have. That's the personnel we have, especially a second and third string quarterback the last 5 games.
Yeah.
So there it is. My summary, Brandon, is that just pure disappointment, and we had a chance to at least dominate the AFC North, and especially Cincinnati, who's becoming so cocky out there that now they're my number 1 target. Okay.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate because it's like, oh, Ben retires, right? And you're thinking this is our division now. This is our division, and Burrow comes out of nowhere, his second year, goes all the way to the Super Bowl, and now they replaced Pittsburgh instead of us. And it's always like, when is this organization going to get their S together? What is it going to take? I am tired of year in, year out seeing Harbaugh's stupid look on his face, look like he's confused. I'm tired of the bad play calling. It's time for Bisciotti to really be aggressive and make some changes, dude. Make some changes. I don't understand why we keep going in, year out with the same guys and expecting a different result. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. That's what I'm saying. Roman has got to go first and foremost, because John, what is John Harbaugh's specialty? I don't even know.
Yeah, special teams.
Special teams, whatever. But I mean, you look at Andy Reid and his offense. You look at what Doug Peterson's doing with Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. Yeah. I mean, Jacksonville.
Yeah, I know.
Jacksonville.
We actually are becoming embarrassing.
It's becoming embarrassing. What is our specialty? What's
our identity?
What
is our identity? I can't answer that question for you.
And I am now. I said this 2 years ago, probably. You cannot win with Roman in Harbaugh. It is prone to fail. It is shown that it fails. You have got to get another guy in here, someone young, vibrant. I mean, look at how Brian Daboll changed Daniel Jones and the Giants. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, Daniel Jones, they were talking about releasing him.
I know.
And now the playoff game he just had,
I know.
You talk about that game alone probably elevated him $30-40 million.
Oh, yeah.
And Daboll is now, he did the same thing with Josh Allen. He's doing the same thing with Daniel Jones, who has similar style to Allen, but he's just not nearly as talented. And they're in the second round.
And if you don't believe us with Greg Roman, just look at clips of Steve Smith Jr. He'll say it all in terms of Roman and how he cannot change, and he's not a good offensive coach, period. So, you know what?
And you know what? He's known to be terrible in the passing game. So how can you get a top receiver to come here?
And if you want mediocre Ravens fans, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, this is what we have. This is why we're frustrated on this podcast right now, because we don't want mediocrity in our.
We've never been that organization,
and we've never really had that. So, Harbaugh, get it together and I can't agree with you more. It's kind of funny to look at him on the sideline, Brandon. He looks dumbfounded, like he doesn't know even. Every play is like, what? We did, yeah. When we get a personal foul with Peters, yeah, pull him aside and chew him out.
I know,
Chew him out.
that is one thing, and I can't stand him. But I adore Mike Tomlin when it comes to that.
Yeah.
His aggressiveness, his realness in the press conferences, on the field. Harbaugh sugarcoats everything. And he never wants to confront players when they do bad. It's always, what kind of call was that? Hold your players accountable like Tomlin does, like Brian Daboll does. Brian Daboll screams in players' faces on the sideline.
Look,
Bill Belichick doesn't play any games.
We're not ignorant that his role as a coach is for the press, for the public, and political. However, you can mix it up, John. You can mix it up with some, especially on the sideline.
He's soft.
During a game, it's not a press conference. Get your guys in line, get them together, and your coaches.
He's soft.
And he should be telling Roman, go back to the run game.
And not only that, that's the coach's job too, right? But what about the quarterback and the players motivating each other? Whether it was Lamar or Huntley, as you always said, they're always sitting on the sideline looking like who back in the day? Flacco. So, but you look at guys around the league, Allen is passionate. Mahomes is always like, let's go, guys. Even as bad as Russell Wilson's been, he was still doing that.
They're patting their offensive line on the backs.
Just saying, let's go.
We got this. I don't care if we're down by 20. You think Patrick Mahomes would be sitting there with his head down? Patrick Mahomes would say, 20, that's nothing.
Exactly.
Let's get this together.
There's just no fire with the players or the coaches. And how can you expect to win?
Yeah, and then with Flacco, going back to him, that's his personality. No, get your ass off the bench and get these guys motivated. You're the leader. That's what leaders do, okay? You don't have to get crazy about it. But look at Tom Brady. He'll sit with the board looking at the plays, but guess what? He gets up and he starts talking to his players. And when
Drew Brees always did that.
A fit.
Listen, Drew Brees was always the motivator.
Yeah.
After a touchdown and interception, he was always in that pad looking at the playbook. Now, I did see Huntley have some emotion when he threw the touchdown pass to Demarcus Robinson. But I don't want you to always. I don't whether it's Lamar or whoever. Don't show emotion when you make a good play all the time.
Right.
You got to have the critical times to have emotion is when you're down and you need to rally your guys together. Yeah. Because you're not always going to make the play.
So we understand fans that you got to be quarterback's got to be calm and collective in situations, but we're talking specific tiny clips of time. When it's critical for you see your team down, you see your offensive line have their heads down, you go to them and you say, "We've got this, and prepare."
And the only reason we say that is because we were blessed with Ray Lewis.
Yeah,
blessed with that leadership, with that camaraderie, and you don't see it anymore. You see just a bunch of guys.
I know,
and that's just not going to do it.
You mentioned that. When I think back, it wasn't only for his defense. Ray would go over to the offense, to Joe Flacco, and get the offense going.
Because he knew Flacco, his demeanor.
He's not going to do it because you know why? He was the leader.
Exactly.
Right? It wasn't a quarterback, it was him. So somebody has to maybe it's Roquan, new to the system next year. Who knows, with a big contract, and he's a young guy. He's really, really young. So it's just
it's tough because there's different forms of leadership, right? Like Steph Curry is a leader, but he's not the type of guy to be like, yeah, come on guys, let's go. He leads by example and by his play. They have Draymond doing that, right? And when it comes to football, I think Lamar is similar to that Steph Curry role where he leads by his play. But if he's not playing well, he's out of the game. Yeah. And who is going to be that guy to rally the guys together emotionally, right? To keep everything together, because as soon as you get too emotional and you let that affect your game, it goes down. And that happened with the Tennessee game when he threw that interception and then he had the penalty, the 15 yards on top. He was out of it then. Yeah. And he still hasn't been like that kind of guy to reel it back and to get his. I just don't know.
Maybe it's Andrews for the offense to get them.
I just don't know,
because he's the veteran of the group and to get them, on the same page and everything. But I think it's a multitude of a lot of little things that are adding up to big things for the Ravens. So there's a lot of work in the offseason. I got you from the head office, the front office, all the way down to the players. And who we're going to keep now, who knows? The whole season could be different. But I tell you, what a missed opportunity this year. What a missed opportunity.
But there are a lot of cracks in this organization. Yeah. And Dobbins really shows it. It shows the frustration. I mean, it shows that this team is not a unit as we thought.
Right. And think how stagnant the running game was when he was out.
Exactly.
It's amazing what one person can do for the team.
And you know what's funny?
And then in the end, instead of rewarding him for all that workouts he did to repair his knee,
I know.
They don't give him the ball. I was about to curse. They don't give him the ball in the red zone the whole fourth quarter. He said that on his tweet. The whole fourth quarter in a playoff game.
That is unexcusable. I really haven't seen a defense be able to stop him.
I know, and that's unexcusable.
If he were to get the ball consistently. But you know what's funny is that when he did come back, we had him on a pitch count, right?
Right.
Now it's the playoffs. He's had multiple games underneath his belt. What are you doing? Yeah. Now's the time to let him loose. He has proven it.
Why not?
I just don't get it.
This is the thing with this Roman. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? You got a thoroughbred that is willing to do it and take the punishment, and you don't have him in the fourth quarter in the red zone?
And some people will combat you with saying, he called a good game plan. He called a good game. You know why they would say that? It's because we had Huntley at quarterback and because the game was close. But that's not good enough, Ravens fans. That's not good enough, because if you're really that good, if you're that guy that you say you are, you can win no matter the circumstances.
You know what
winning overtops everything. It's not about coming close. This is not a participation trophy.
You know what? This exposes Roman, because Lamar was the one that bailed him out on his offensive calling when he was doing quarterback runs, design quarterback runs on 3rd and 8 and 3rd and 7. You know, you have a quarterback as dynamic as him to save you, Roman. That's what you do, right? And even if it's not a design run, if he's trying to pass it, you have a guy that can make you first downs, and that exposes him to his play call.
I mean, literally. It's just crazy. Whenever we get in the red zone or we have a short yardage, 3rd and 1, I'm like, oh gosh, we're sweating bullets.
And we should.
And what was that play call when Huntley rolls to the side, throws it across to Andrews, wasted play number 1, instead of giving it to Dobbins and getting some critical yards, right? Then we get the lucky, the one possession, we get the lucky turnover off the fumble that somehow stayed in bounds. Yep. We're in the red zone again. We end up with 3 points. It's situations like that.
Then we get the run by Huntley, and I remember Brandon screaming, he's got to get into the end zone. Why? Because we can't score in the red zone. We can't. And then, but here, first down, 2 yards to go. What do you think you should do, Ravens? You think you should pass, roll around? No, give it to Dobbins and Gus 3 times to get a touchdown. Then you make your decision on 4th down whether to kick the ball or go for it. You were first on the 2-yard line, first down on the 2, and can't get it.
It just makes
run up the gut, Ravens. This is your identity, and you have the players, personnel to do it. There's no excuse, Gray. You have Dobbins and Gus.
It makes absolutely no sense that we. It just seemed like Roman wanted Huntley to win us the game, and it just makes no sense. It makes no sense. And the second that was the call, in my opinion, we lost the game, because I told you before the game and you knew this too. Dobbins and Gus were going to have to carry us to this win, and they didn't touch the ball enough. And
when they had the perfect opportunity to do it,
that's why we lost.
The perfect opportunity to do it.
They never got the ball. Line. They never got the chance. That's like not getting Kobe the ball when he's got the hot hand, or Michael Jordan. You gotta feed your star.
2 seconds to go, or 5 seconds to go with the score tied. Who do you go? Everybody knows who is going to.
You gotta feed your star players. Yeah. Not every third down, but majority of third downs. Who's Burrow going to? Jamar Chase, right? Who was Tom Brady going to back in the day? Wes Welker, Gronkowski. You feed your star players. That's why you pay them that much. That's why they're that good, because they can get open.
That's why you traded and you paid and you did long-term contracts for that very reason.
I mean, what's the point of having these guys on the roster if you're not going to utilize them correctly?
Well, Brandon, what do we know? Right? What do we know? It's just, we don't make the millions that they make and all the decisions they have to make. But I tell you what, it looks pretty simple in certain circumstances what you should do. And when you doubt yourself,
we don't know the X's and O's, but man, situational football and like when to call timeouts, who to get the ball to, it's it's not that difficult when it comes down to it.
Yeah, when you see all the tweets and all the commentary after a game that is similar to what we're saying, something's wrong with what they're doing. So I'll leave it like that for me. It's like I'm not X's and O's guy.
We're not, but we know who's got the hot hand.
Yeah.
And JK had the hot hand. Just imagine Tennessee not getting the ball to Derrick Henry.
That would be crazy on the 2 yard line.
It makes no sense.
That's a perfect example. Would they not do that on the 2 yard line when you have Derrick Henry?
Exactly.
You're going to pass the ball? It was like Marshawn Lynch.
You got to feed it to your hot hand, to your star players, and we didn't do that. We didn't do that.
That's their specialty, too. That's short yardage. That's what they do. That's the other thing. It's not like a 50-50 chance with a mediocre running back.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Where there's a will, there's a way, and JK is the type of player to find a way and score in that position, and I feel so bad for him.
I do feel bad.
I honestly, if next year's the same thing,
I think he should leave. He should leave for a team that appreciates him.
I would not blame him, because I don't want a guy like him to waste his career. Shame on us for holding him back. So, I mean, it is what it is. Another heartbreaking loss. I will never forget that fumble. Like, I won't forget the Lee Evans, the Cundiff kick, numerous. Antonio Brown reaching across the, this is going to be etched into my memory forever. Yeah. And granted, we weren't going to win the Super Bowl, but, against a division rival in their home stadium, what an opportunity to crush their souls, because everybody... Cincinnati's one of the teams that could win it all, that people are touting to go all the way.
We could have knocked them out.
To knock them out?
That would be,
nobody expected us.
Think about that. Forget going to Buffalo.
Exactly.
I would just love that.
Exactly.
In our division.
Yeah. And to have another playoff win underneath our belt, because, man, it's been hard to come by playoff wins for this team. Like I said, we only had 1 or 2 since our Super Bowl year. So, hey... another season recap. We'll be back next year. Apologize for missing the last few weeks. Next year, we will try to be more consistent. Honestly, though, it was just tough. It was tough to do it with Lamar out, and we will be repeating the same thing over and over.
The motivation for us was kind of minimum, because
it was tough.
It wasn't what we expected to have Lamar out like that, and you try to get up for it, Ravens fans, but I think everybody out there knows how we feel.
Yeah,
it was like a very unusual.
It's a quarterback-driven league, and when your quarterback is not out there, it is tough. It's very rarely we get a situation like San Francisco,
and you finally get an elite quarterback that can win it for you, and you have to just sit back and watch second and third string quarterbacks, and guess what? Huntley isn't the answer, folks. He is not the answer.
Oh, gosh.
And
for those that were saying that before this year...
We actually need another... If Lamar comes back, we need another backup in place of him. Because I don't see anything that stands out for Huntley that I could even tell you.
Listen,
right now.
He'll have a long career, hopefully, as a backup quarterback. But that's about it. He's not a starting quarterback. Yeah. He's just not. So, for those of you saying, let's just run with Huntley, I mean, come on.
They want to compare them to Lamar,
and he's not
in the same state, but they're not.
They
played against each other, but
similar play, but the talent level is night and day.
The speed, the passing, the delivery is just not there.
It's not. So appreciate all the subscribers this year tuning in for the weeks that we had the podcast. Up and down season as usual, as the Ravens always give us, but we really appreciate the comments. We appreciate the love. And I'm thinking, I think we'll do an episode on the draft, maybe some big off-season moves. I don't want to just be completely silent until next year rolls around. But when there's big news, I feel like we will have an episode Because, it's nice when there's not any football, the little bit of news is exciting, like the draft, for instance, and free agency. So I feel like we'll have an episode for that and see what moves we make, because this is going to be really critical for this team, and it's worth talking about. So,
well, Brandon, I had a good time.
Yeah.
We enjoy doing this.
Second season in the books.
It's exciting, and I want to throw out there to my son. He leads the podcast and does everything, and I'm really proud of him. And I wish everybody a blessed and healthy 2023.
Yep.
And we'll continue.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in. This is Ravens Flock Talk.